Okay, my friends, last day. Oops, I have to mirror this and I can't wanna. Try this again. Room 4. Share screen. Okay, there we are. Okay, so last day was page 55, 56. Are there any questions you would like me to go over? I think 1K I heard earlier. I mean 2K. Right? Was it 2K or 1K? 1K? 1K, 2N, 2G.
Also 2K too.
2K, 2K2. 3B. 3B, 3D. 2L. The good news is the notes today are really, really short. But yeah. Yes, we can. That's not a bad idea. But the thing is, once we kind of get started on the assignment, then whoever's just kind of going ahead just needs to work silently while I do the examples. Pretty please and thank you. Yeah, let's look at, and that's what I was going to suggest. Did you just think of that, or is it because I told you I do that sometimes? Oh no, that's more in physics. Anyways, great minds think alike. And how does that finish? Fools seldom differ. Here we go. Give me a few moments to write it down, and then I will talk, and then I'll do examples. I'm not 2 meters away from you, am I? Who else hates wearing a mask?
Is this going to be on the test?
Mm-hmm.
So we're allowed to use a calculator on the test?
Well, that's a good question. No, I'll explain it in a minute. That's it, sister. There honestly aren't really any notes. Yeah, it's just your assignment. The most important thing here, let me get the pointer because that's how important it is. The most important thing here is this bottom piece where it says it's very important to reject extraneous roots. So because we're doing word problems when we're solving for radicals, you're going to get the answer is plus or minus 2 or plus or minus 7.6 or whatever it is. Well, in this case, the problem might present itself to see like how tall is Caleb? Caleb is not plus or minus 175 inches, 175 centimeters. You have to reject the extraneous root. So to say that Caleb is negative 175 centimeters is extraneous. And you'll see when we get doing questions how that'll come out. So that's the most important thing you need to know. Also, people asked, also we can use a calculator on the test. No, because any questions that will require a calculator, like anything that gets, crazy, 7.5 to the power of 7 or something, you're not going to get questions like that on the test. So it'll all be doable with your brains and your writing utensil. Has everybody got this down? Anybody still writing? All right, let's look at a couple examples. Examples are on page 57, apparently. So I'll show you kind of the beginning of it because I don't want to write it all down. So it says here, I'll give you a little hint or a little tip or whatever. I'm going to use this formula on the test for one of the questions. Probably shouldn't tell you that, but I'm in a giving mood and I feel bad because I've missed classes. Can you keep it down while I'm teaching? Get a hold of yourself. I forgive you. Okay. So t equals the square root of d cubed over 30, where t is the time in hours and d is the diameter of the storm in kilometers. So what that means, as soon as you know that you have two unknowns, the t and the d, you're going to be given one and you have to solve for the other. So for this example, it says if a hurricane has a diameter of 50, so we're putting 50 in for the d. That's what we're doing. Okay, so for this example 1, we'll call it, t equals square root of d cubed all over 30. Hurricane has a diameter of 50 kilometers, so d equals 50. So it's telling us d equals 50. What does t equal? Oops, cricket. So we just plug that info in. So we have 50 cubed all over 30. We want to do another step. So then everybody's calculator or most calculators are different. I think last time I said everybody's calculator is different. 5 people said mine's the same as yours. So the root of 50 cubed. So let's just cube 50 for starters. 50, I'm going to use a little hat button there. 50 to the raised to the power of 3. Anybody know this off the top of their head? I think it's 125,000. Holy. Good thing I'm teaching the class. So it's 125,000 over 30. Now we're going to take the root of 125,000. So the root of the answer is 353 point whatever. Divide that by 30. 11.79. So that equals 11.79. That's what t equals. And so the question was, if a hurricane has a diameter of 50 kilometers, how long could it be expected to last? T is time in hours. So about 11.79 hours. The strange thing to me about the textbook, it asks you to use a calculator for like the square root of 24, but it wants you to estimate questions like this. That's crazy talk. I will not ask you to estimate questions with these kinds of numbers in them. Is that pretty straightforward so far? One more example. Get to work. Mr. Ends. Example, so I'll just show you this in case your book's not out. If you can see it, I know most of you need glasses that you don't bring. If a car skidded, I shouldn't use that finger to point. If a car skidded a distance of 80 meters and the coefficient of friction, coefficient of friction is F was 0.8, estimate the speed it was traveling. So that's a lot of kind of nonsense words. What you need to focus on, you have 3 variables. S equals the root of 250 FD. S is the speed in kilometers an hour. D is the distance of the skid in meters. And F is the coefficient of friction. You don't have to memorize any formulas. All this info will be there for you just the way it is here. Okay? So there's 3 variables. It's telling you distance of 80, so D equals 80. And the coefficient of friction was 0.8. So it's 250 times 0.8 times 80, and then the square root of that. No, it'll be given to you. This is the formula. S equals the root of 250 FD. Yeah, that's all part of the formula. So we have S equals the root of 250 FD. So that equals the root of 250. Coefficient of friction is 0.8, which I think is our next unit in physics. And then the distance. What's the distance? Oh yeah, 80. So all we got to do is multiply all these and then take the square root of it. So let's clear it first. 250 times 0.8. What's 80% of 250? That's going to be 80, 160, 200, right? Curious. 200 times 80. You can do this one. 16,000. Yes. So it's the root of 16,000. If there were an even number of zeros, that would not be a calculator question. But there aren't. So let's find the root of that. 126.49. Yeah, if it was 1600, the root of 1600 would be 40. That's it. And if there were 4 zeros, it'd be 400. So 126.49 is S. What even is S? S is the speed in kilometers per hour. That's pretty fast. Don't drive that fast. It's not safe. Because if you're driving that fast and you hammer the brakes, you're still going to slide for 80 meters. Way further in winter or bad conditions.
Definitely massive.
Lots of you probably have parents or cousins or brothers who say, man, the stuff I did when I was younger, if you did, I would be so angry at you. Have you ever had that conversation with an older person? I see all these nodding, yeah. Stuff I've told my son. It's like, I don't even want to give him ideas because I'm just lucky nobody got killed. Stupid crap I did. Anyways, does this make sense?
Yeah.
Do you guys need another example? These are all the examples given, but I can do one from the assignment if you want. Okay, pick one. Not 15 or whatever left. Number 1? No way, too easy. Give me something harder. 6? That's another friction one. Do something that's different. Do you guys know your a squared plus b squared equals c squared? Yeah.
Do the hardest one.
Well, no. How about, well, here's a weird looking one. Look at 12.
Do the weird looking one.
I was gonna do, I was thinking about doing 10. But that actually 10 is pretty easy. Okay, just tell me which one. 13?
Oh,
Let's do 13. 13 looks weird. So 13 on page, it's everything. It's 1 to 15 starting on page 58. So here's 13. It says the area of an equilateral triangle is given by a formula. So A equals the root of 3 times s squared all over 4. Yeah, that's weird. I've never seen that formula before. Where s is the length of each side. So it's an equilateral triangle. So all sides are equal. And part A, it says, what is the area of an equilateral triangle with side of length 4.5? So for part A, basically it's saying, what is A when S equals 4.5? So all we need to do is say A equals the root of 3 times 4.5 squared divided by 4. So it's just making sure we plug that stuff in. Be really careful how you plug things in, because if you just tell your calculator plus, minus, divide, it might do it in weird orders. For example, if I did the root of, like this is weird to me. I don't know why it's not s squared times root 3. That's just really strange. But anyways, if I do the root, press my root button, I don't know how well you guys can see that, and hit 3, and then I say times 4.5 squared, it might treat that like it's all under the root sign. So what I would do, I hit equals a lot as I go. You may have noticed that. The root of 3 equals. Now I do times 4.5, and honestly, what I do is I do another times 4.5. Because if I say times 4.5 squared, it might do the root of 3 times 4.5 and then that whole thing squared. Like I can't assume anything about my calculator. So I'm gonna do that. So that equals that, then times 4.5 equals that, divided by 4, 8.77. Figure out what the units are. Not even any units. Oh yeah, centimeters. Centimeters squared. Now we can do this. Here's the trickier part and maybe more important because we actually didn't even get into extraneous roots. Am I going too fast? Everybody's okay? So part B says area equals 80 centimeters. What's the side length? So now we have the area is 80. that equals the root of 3 times s squared divided by 4. So now we gotta get that s squared by itself. Multiply both sides by 4, so you got 320 equals s squared times the root of 3. I'm just switching the order because it's easier, looks better like that. Then I'm gonna divide both sides by the root of 3. I'll stop there for now and then figure out what s squared is. So 320. So here's another example of you got to be careful with your calculator. I'm not going to say divided by root 3 and leave it like that, because sometimes with root signs, like I said, the calculator kind of wants to add stuff. Maybe that shouldn't. So divided by, I'm going to put the root 3 in brackets just to be safe.
Is that an F or a 5?
S. I just put 5 because I thought it looked like a 5.
Wait, it's over 4? Or the root
That was a different question. Oh no. What in the what? Oh yeah. No, see what I did here, I kind of skipped a step. I multiplied both sides by 4. That's why the 80 is now 320 and the 4 is gone.
And how did you get
Because I divided both sides by root of 3 because I want to cancel it from over here. Does that make sense? Thank you for stopping me. Stop me more when necessary. So 320 divided by the root of 3 is 187 point, no, it's not. It's 184.75. See how I figured that out? 184.75 equals s squared. So what do I do now? The square root. Now remember from, I don't know if it's the last lesson or the lesson before, when you take the square root of something, square root of the unknown, you have to do plus or minus. So s equals plus or minus 13.59 centimeters. Can we have a negative measurement for a side of a triangle? No. S equals 13.59 centimeters. You can't have a negative measurement, can't have a negative age, height, weight, distance, etc., etc. You can't have negative 2 pets.
Where did you get the 13.59?
I took the square root of both sides because it was s squared equals this, so I want to know what s equals. Cool in the gang? Questions, problems? I will now go through the plethora of homework questions, happily. Everybody's good right now with this? All right. So let's start with 1K, which is from page 55. Okay, so page 55, 1K says y cubed minus 1 equals negative 35 over 8. Wowzers. So first thing we need to do is add 1 to both sides. Y cubed equals 1 minus 35 over 8. Now we need to have a common denominator, so this 1 is going to become 8 over 8 minus 35 over 8. 8 minus 35 is 27. So y cubed equals negative 27 over 8. Any problems so far
A lot different from mine.
from the way you did it? A lot different from the way you did it?
That's the final answer.
Nope. We need to find out what y equals, not y cubed. Now, don't write this down so it doesn't confuse you, but if I told you y cubed equals negative 8, What does y equal?
-3
Well, you're jumping ahead, sister. Let's just look at this for 1 second. You're right. You're right. But here, I'm going to take the cube root of both sides. So the cube root of y cubed, those cancel, it's going to be y, equals the cube root of -8. So basically, I said don't write this down. This is not the question. I'm just simplifying this over here for a second.
Oh,
Okay? So the cube root of y cubed is y. The cube root of -8 is -2. Because -2 times -2 times -2, which is -2 cubed, equals -8. So what we're going to do over here is we're taking the cube root of both sides, and it's the cube root of the top and the bottom. This one works out nicely. It won't always. So y equals the cube root of -27/8. If it helps, you can think of it as cube root of -27 over the cube root of 8. 27 is 3 times 3 times 3. So it's -3/2. I don't know if this was the lesson from yesterday or the day before, where if it's a negative and it's an odd index, then the answer is negative.
Yeah.
So remember, it's good. Are we okay with 1K? Only took one whole piece of paper. Anybody have questions about this? People are still writing. Everybody okay? Can I move on to the next one? But it's stopping me. Okay, I don't know if these are in alphabetical order, probably not, but I'm gonna start with 2N. That's an N. That looks like it could be a lot of different letters. And that didn't help. 2N. Page 56. C, D. There is no 2N.
I didn't only go to L.
Yeah.
Wait,
Do they mean L because there's an N in there?
I think I meant L.
Okay, 2L. 2L. This looks like a big mistake. Anyways, 2L. So N cubed, this one's gonna have to be a an estimation. Plus a half equals 0. N cubed, so we're gonna subtract a half from both sides, equals -1/2. So now we have to get the cube root of both sides. And this will be an estimation one. So N equals cube root of -1/2. We can think of this as cube root of -1 over the cube root of 2. So then the top of that, cube root of -1 is -1. And then we've got the cube root of 2. And so we have to estimate the cube root of 2. One cubed equals 1. 2 cubed equals 8. So 2 is way closer to 1,
Like 1.1.
like 1.1. So N equals something like -1 over 1.1.
Did you just squiggle it like equals?
You can, or you can put a dot over it, either one.
Yeah, I got it.
Who wanted this? Sadie?
Yeah, thank you.
Does that help?
Mhm.
Anybody else? We're good with that? Okay, I'm gonna go 2G. When you're good and old, you're gonna say, oh, I'm glad Mr. Morris made me do all this estimating and mental math. I know you don't think that way right now. Don't worry. I don't take it personally. But it's better for your brain. So, okay, so 2G, A squared equals 3/10. A squared equals 3 over 10. Couple different ways to look at this. If you wanted, you could say this is 0.3. And then you can go that route, estimating that. Or you can stay with the fraction. I'll do both ways really quick. Essentially, you're either going to do what is the root of 3 over 10? Remember that plus or minus. Or what is the root of 0.3? This one's probably easier. Because 1 squared equals, let's start at 0. 0 squared equals 0. 1 squared equals 1. So we're closer to the 0 here. So it's going to be somewhere around, say, 0. You know, decimals are kind of weird. Because that's what you want to say, right? Like, you know, when I'm getting into decimals now, I'm thinking I might be sending you guys down the garden path. Because the root of 0.3 is 0.54. Because decimals are different. Like if I say like 10 squared, that equals 100. 0.1 squared, it gets smaller. So maybe let's forget about this. I don't need to confuse you guys a couple days before the test. You're not getting anything this crazy. Okay, like I'm not gonna put you through the ringer here. But so over here, the root of 3 over the root of 10 is probably the easiest way to look at it. 1 squared, 2 squared equals 4. 3 squared equals 9. So the root of 3, so 3 is in between here, so it's around 1.7-ish. So this equals around, let's say that, around 1.7 over, and then the root of 10 would be just over 3, like 3.1, something like that. If you don't like decimals, 17 over 31, plus or minus. I wish there was an easy way.
How do you get 17 over 31?
1.7 over 3.1, I just multiply top and bottom by 10.
So do you have to do that?
Nope, just saying if you want to, you can change it. I'm just gonna look up the test. I was gonna look it up on the computer and then I realized I'm recording the screen for Ada, so she doesn't need to see the PreCal test. Because really, you guys are not getting questions like that. Let me just see. Two G. That's what we just did, right? Yeah, okay, 2K, 2K, 3B. Yeah, see 3B. Can we ignore the like 2K? Let me just do questions that'll be like somewhat similar to the test. Because there are some like this, like ones like this, because the textbook did design it for you to use with your calculator, and I want you to use your calculator less, but I'm not going to give you crazy questions like this. So like 2G, 2K, you won't get questions like that on the test. So can we just skip to ones that are more similar? And then whatever else you want me to do, I can do. So let's jump to 3B. 3B would be a great test question. 3B squared, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. 3B squared equals 36. What's the first thing we do? Divide both sides by 3. B squared equals 12. And now we estimate.
Wait, does the space in the textbook, is that just like an error?
The space?
Because there's space between the 3 and the B. Is that, is that just
That, yeah, I think that's just an error.
There's a lot of errors.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird formatting and stuff. The textbook's relatively new, so that's part of it. So B squared equals 12. So we take the root of B squared, the root of 12. Now remember our plus minus. 1 squared equals 1, 2 squared equals 4, 3 squared equals 9, 4 squared equals 16, 12 is 4 away from 16, 3 away from 9. So what do you guys think it'll be? Works for me. Plus or minus, plus or minus. I have a feeling I will be saying to a lot of you on your test, I won't be saying it to you, I'll be writing down plus or minus, plus or minus. Remember, when you're solving for an unknown, it's plus or minus.
If it's a multiple of two.
Yes, 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 yeah, an even index, yes, correct, thank you. Are we okay with 3B? And you know what, 3D will get a bit too big. You won't have to do a question like 3D on the test. 3F is entirely possible. But nobody asked for 3F.
How do you do a negative number?
What do you mean? Give me an example. Tell me what to write down.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, way to go. Anybody else? Anything else?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So let's do 3F because that could be a test question. 3F says 2b to the 4 equals 96. First thing we do, divide both sides by 2. So now you've got b to the 4 equals 48. So now you have to think of numbers when they're to the power of 4 and where this is going to fit in. 1 to the power 4, thankfully, is 1. 2 to the power 4 is 16. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. 3 to the power of 4, you might need to do some little side math here, but 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. So 48 is 33 from 81 and 32 from 16, so it's almost right in the middle. So B is around plus or minus 2.5. Like how to get like to this step right here? Yeah, divide both sides by 2. I was trying to get that B by itself. Yeah. Everything on the assignment, nothing on the test.
So it'll just be easier, kind of, like doable.
Should we know how to find the cube root of 30?
By hand, yes. But you won't need to do that with the calculator. So if you want, so I'm telling you, you can use the calculator for this assignment. Some questions like cube root of 30, that's totally a number that we would be dealing with. Cube root of 456, no.
27,000.
Yes, 27,000, you could, because that'd be 30. What's that? Sorry, what did you say, Olivia?
I just said the cube root of 30 would be 27,000.
Oh, no. Caleb was just throwing out numbers and I was just showing off. No, cube root of 30? So here, how would you do that? Okay, let's do that. Cube root of 30. What is that? So 1 cubed?
Oh,
1.
wait, I mean 30 cubed, like,
Oh, 30 cubed? Yeah, you could do that. 30 cubed?
yeah.
That's 30 times 30. Oh, yes, that is 27. Yes.
Okay.
I was like, Olivia, that's nowhere near 27,000.
No.
You're like, no, you got it this way. Yes.
I said it wrong.
Yeah. All G. Anybody else? Anything you want me to do or help you with? Time to work. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. class. I'll go over any questions from this assignment you want me to. I'll answer any other questions. You can also start working on that review. I'll answer questions kind of all day, but I'll be online with you at 9 AM. I don't have any classes in the afternoon. What's that? I'll record it for anybody who comes and post. But if you're doing the practice for the review and things like that, and you have questions, I can meet with people in the afternoon if you get stuck.
Is there a test Thursday, right?
Yeah, test is Thursday.